It happens after the good gatherings. That's the part that confuses you. You come home from an evening you genuinely enjoyed, close the door behind you, and the silence rushes in like water filling a basin. You stand there in the hallway for a moment, keys still in your hand, and something settles in your chest. Not exhaustion. You know what exhaustion feels like. This is quieter. A faint, hollow ache you've never quite named. You shake it off. You tell yourself you're just someone who likes being alone. And most of the time, you believe it. The solitude feels chosen. The silence feels clean. You've built a life that works this way. But then the ache returns, often enough to make you wonder. A Sunday evening when the world outside seems to be connecting without you. A text you left unread because responding meant opening a door you weren't sure you wanted to walk through. A friend who said, "I really care about you," and something in your body flinched before your mind could even catch up. You heard yourself say something breezy, something that deflected, and you watched the moment close like a window you didn't remember shutting. You told yourself you were just busy. You were not busy. You were retreating, and you didn't know why. You probably have language for this. You call yourself an introvert, highly sensitive, fiercely independent, someone who simply needs more space than other people. These explanations feel true enough to keep. They cover the part of the pattern that pulls away. What they never quite explain is the other side of it, the part that aches. The part that after you successfully created all that distance, finds the silence not peaceful, but haunting. If you were truly built for solitude, that ache wouldn't be there. Its presence tells you something. The labels don't cover the whole story. What they miss is that your relationship with distance may not be a personality trait at all. It may be a strategy, one you learned a very long time ago, in a home where emotional connection wasn't reliably available. This doesn't require the kind of neglect people picture. It simply requires a household where your feelings weren't consistently met with attention and care. Maybe the adults around you were physically present but emotionally unreachable. Maybe their warmth was unpredictable. There 1 hour, gone the next, with no explanation and no repair. You learned early that reaching out didn't reliably bring comfort, so the safest emotional posture became not reaching out at all. In that environment, you did something remarkably intelligent. You learned to turn inward. You built a world inside your own room, your own mind, your own imagination, a space where you could regulate your feelings without depending on someone who might not show up. You sat on your bed in the quiet and taught yourself not to call out. You learned to lower your expectations, because expectations were what made disappointment feel like a wound. Not needing was safer than needing and being left unmet. A child, alone with feelings too big to hold, figured out how to survive them by becoming her own source of safety. This was not a flaw, it was a skill. And it worked so well, it became automatic. The difficulty is that your nervous system never got the message that childhood ended. The safety algorithm you built in that quiet, unpredictable house is still running, right now, in your adult relationships, with partners, with friends, with anyone who gets close enough to matter. When someone genuinely wants to know how your day was, when they reach for emotional depth, when they offer to meet a need you've long stopped admitting you have, your system doesn't register love. It registers risk. Because once, a long time ago, closeness and unpredictability walked hand in hand. Getting attached meant getting hurt. Being known meant being vulnerable to someone who might withdraw. So the old program activates, and it does what it was always designed to do. It creates distance before the distance can be done to you. You pull back not because you're cold, but because some old part of you is still trying to keep you safe from a threat that no longer exists. So the pattern that's confused you your whole life, pulling away from the very closeness that would ease the ache, was never a contradiction. It was one system, doing one job, in two directions at once. And here is what changes something. The distance you keep, the retreat you initiate, the walls you maintain, they are not evidence of a broken personality. They are the legacy of a skill you mastered too well. That distance is not a defect. It's a solution, one that a child working with almost no resources managed to construct anyway. It worked so effectively that it wove itself into who you believe yourself to be, into the very reflexes of your body. That flinch when someone gets too close, that's not coldness, that's muscle memory. You've been criticizing yourself for years, calling yourself avoidant, impossible to love, incapable of real connection, when what you've actually been doing is honoring a promise you made to yourself before you had the words to understand it. The thing you've been ashamed of is, in its origin, a thing of real intelligence. A child's invention, still running faithfully in an adult world that holds possibilities the child could not have imagined. This doesn't mean you're suddenly fixed. When you feel that familiar urge to retreat, in the middle of a good conversation, at the threshold of something deeper, you no longer have to interpret it as proof that you're wired wrong. You can recognize it for what it is: an old safety protocol, running a drill for a danger that was real once but isn't now. You don't have to obey it automatically. You don't have to hate yourself for feeling it. You can simply notice, there it is again, the old system doing exactly what it learned to do. That small shift, from I am broken to it's happening again, is the difference between being possessed by a pattern and being able to observe it. And observation is the beginning of agency. It is also quietly the beginning of something that looks a lot like freedom. Your relationships may not transform overnight. You may still feel the urge to withdraw. You may still sometimes choose distance, because old architecture doesn't dismantle itself in a day. But you can stop adding guilt to the equation. You can stop treating your caution as a moral failing. What you're looking at, when you catch yourself hesitating at the edge of intimacy, is not a character flaw. It's a child's brilliant survival strategy, still running in a body that grew up. You are not cold. You are not incapable. You are someone who learned to survive alone, and who is now, slowly and without blame, beginning to notice that some doors can stay open, and some people can be trusted to stay on the other side. Some evenings, you don't have to close the door at all. If this is the kind of understanding you want more of, subscribe. There's a place for it here.